Welcome to a podcast about the organizations, businesses, and individuals that make the greater Houston area great. This is Cruise Through HTX. Last summer, I had the privilege of meeting inventor Mike Martin. His inventions include the Coolin Curve beverage chiller and the heavyweight scrub brush. Mike's a returning guest, and you can learn more about his personal story in episode 13, which was released on July 25th. In this conversation, Mike and I talk a little bit more about his journey to starting Miss Emma's Retreat, which is the program he created to take cancer patients sailing through Galveston Bay. We talk about something we call God things, and he shares an incredible example that involves his granddaughter Emma's cancer diagnosis. We also cover some of the creative process involved with making things like the Coolin Curve beverage chiller, and so much more. And if you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed putting it together for you, please consider subscribing to the show on your favorite podcast platform and sharing with your family and friends at cruisethroughhtx.com.
Hi, I'm Ed Sheeran.
This is Bruno Mars.
Hey, it's Katy Perry.
This is your man Flo Rida with Freddy Cruz.
This is AJ Mitchell with Freddy Cruz.
Freddy Cruz.
Freddy Cruz.
Just let you go pick Mr. 305 and you already know what it is.
My name is Freddy, and it's time to cruise through HTX. Welcome back to the show.
How you doing, sir? Glad to be back.
I'm welcoming you to my podcast, but you're welcoming me into a boat.
Yeah, our new boat, yes.
Yeah, the new boat. So for people not familiar with Mike Martin's story, he is the founder of Miss Emma's Retreat, named after his beautiful granddaughter. I've still got the picture she drew for me the day we met.
Oh, wow.
I think of it often. It's in my office. So let's catch people up on what this is all about with Miss Emma.
All right. Miss Emma's Retreat. Miss Emma was born with cancer, and I just happened to have God throw a bunch of things in front of me that I pieced together as my new mission, and that was to take cancer kids sailing in Galveston Bay free of charge. And so we got a sailboat through sail time and invented a product to pay for it, and that's where we are. And so Emma now that was 6 years ago. She's now 6.5. She just had her 5-year scan, which came back clean.
Nice.
And so we're good to go on that. It's been an amazing journey filled with serendipitous moments that God gives to us. And I'd like to share one that we just had that I don't think anybody's heard yet.
Oh, man, I got to hear it. I love it when you talk about God things.
Yeah, so anyway, it was the day before Thanksgiving. I got a call, and we had a broken wine bucket. It had cheers written on it, and this man calls up. He's in a panic. He's like, oh, my God, I broke my wife's wine bucket. It's on top of the refrigerator. I didn't see it. I knocked it off, and I think it was a birthday present, and you got to help me. She finds out I'm dead.
And you're talking about an actual wine bucket or your Coolin Curve?
My Coolin Curve.
Okay, your Coolin Curve.
My Coolin Curve that had cheers, and I had put cheers on it.
Yeah.
And again, he's going through this story that his wife bought it at Boston, and I'm like, I never sold a bucket to Boston. So I put some cheers on them,
Yeah.
and so anyway, but I went along with it because he was in a panic, and it was just so interesting to hear someone talking about a product I invented with so much passion that he was going to be in trouble. I mean, it's a $40 bucket, right? And he is like just in this pickle. So I told him, no problem. I'll shoot the bucket and I'll get it to him. And in fact, I turned around right then and went and did it, right? And he kind of ducked out. He didn't call back for a couple of days. And I had it in my car. And it was Saturday. On Friday, Emma actually had her 5-year scan. So it was Wednesday he called, Thursday is Thanksgiving, Friday Emma had her scan, and he called on Saturday, the day that Emma got her results back, which were clean. So she was good to go. She has a full life to live. So we were all super excited. And so I go to, this guy calls, and I tell him I'll go drop the bucket off, and I take it to his house, and I get there. And his wife now knows about the broken bucket. And
no.
Yeah, she was cool with it.
But help is coming.
Yeah, so I guess she was cool because she knew the one was coming. And so, but I get there, and she was laughing and everything about the whole thing. And we started talking, and she asked, what the program was. And I told her that Emma, again, was born with cancer. She was the 4th one ever born with it. And she goes, really, what kind? I said, rhabdomyosarcoma. And she goes, oh, wow, my son was the first.
No way.
So here I am standing in the Woodlands. We're the number 4 person born with cancer, and I'm standing in the house of the number 1 person born with cancer. In fact, he was in the report that we read about Emma's surgery, and so we had known him. I had known about him for 6 years already because of the reports that we read. And so now I'm standing in their house, and he's 33 years old and alive and well. And I just learned Emma was good to go. So, I saw 33 years right then, right?
Yeah.
And so, of course, I mean, I was crying like crazy because I couldn't believe what just happened. And, of course, we invited him on a sail, right? So they're going to come sailing this summer, bringing him down. He's in Austin. And so, we're going to take the family out on this boat. And again, but just a magical moment to be the number 1 in 4 people and all the people in the world, and we're staying in the same den. And it was all over a wine bucket I invented to help cancer patients. And here we are.
Yeah, so many things to unpack there, Mike, because the guy's 33 years old, Emma is 6, and that's just how rare of a cancer that is.
Yeah, well, to be born with it, it's a prominent cancer. There's a lot of it out there, but not to be born with it. And so that's what that was. And so the first and the fourth, 33 years, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's 27 years apart that happened. But
it's not just a rare instance where 4 people are in the same room and it happens to them at the same time. Yeah. This is decades apart. Yeah. But for the Coolin Curve, because this is something that was conceptualized when you got out of rehab and you had the idea, you had the vision at a bar with your dad. How long did it take for you to draw it out on the napkin after getting the inspiration? That wine bucket is definitely not going to keep the wine chill. You draw it out, and then you're like, okay, the idea is there. Now what? Execution.
From the idea, I mean, it took 2 seconds to draw it, right? I knew right then how to draw it, and I drew it and solved the problem. A couple of weeks later, we made a prototype of it, just without sheets of plastic that we stuck in the oven and bent, right? And so
I was about to ask you how to do it.
On the den in my house, as I did on the floor.
Did your house smell like Breaking Bad or what, dude?
No, but no, we were in there with the Dremel in the middle of the den.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. What's a Dremel?
Dremel is a little drilling tool, router.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Handheld tool, and so. It was, midnight, and I'm out in the den.
What's Walter White doing over there?
Candy's in there trying to sleep, and we're out there building in the den. And you got to build in the den because that's where the TV is, right? So, so not going out in the garage. So, but anyway, we're doing it out on the floor, and I built it, and it worked. And then I tried to find a company who had licensed it because I'd manufactured before. I'd manufactured for 20 years with my heavyweight. And didn't want to get into that game. I just wanted to go license it. And, I found some wine bucket manufacturer, and I took it to them. And, one of the problems with going to wine bucket manufacturers is we really kind of compete with them because we obsolete what they do, right?
Mm-hmm. Because it actually works.
Yeah. So they said no, but it wasn't a fit for them at the time for some other reasons. And so I hung up, and I was a little bit disappointed, but I called them back like the next day and said, well, can I have your manufacturer? And they said yes. And they gave me their manufacturer. And, again, because of that, we sell lots of wine buckets, they're getting a lot of credit. We're going to take care of them because, again, they didn't have to do that. And I had a great manufacturer in Taiwan that built our first, 6,000 buckets for us and got them over to us in a very quick time. Our molds were done perfectly. Loved the company and was super happy with them. But I just had this, I'd left Taiwan, and I just had this uneasy feeling that shipping was going to be an issue, and I didn't know growth or what. I just thought it was going to be an issue. And so I pulled my molds, and everybody was kind of freaking out on that, but I pulled my molds out of Taiwan to bring them over here to the States to pay a little bit more money for them, but I'd have a little bit more control over production. And then the next year, COVID hit, and so then all that freight stuff happened.
Yeah.
And here my molds were, and we didn't miss a beat. Everybody thought I was brilliant, and all I was scared to death. That's all I was.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with being brilliant. So, but no, yeah, it made us look good. So, but now our molds are over here. We manufacture 4 miles from my house, which used to be my house. Now I moved out to Katy, but yeah, so it's right here in Houston. We make our heavyweights there as well. So happy with what happens.
This episode of Cruise Through HTX is brought to you by my media company, Speak Podcasting, on the web at spekepodcasting.com in our first online course of 2024. I'm excited. It's called PodQuest, Cracking the Code to Creating a Binge-Worthy Show. This is for 2 types of people, all right? 1, aspiring podcasters who want to launch their show on the right foot. And 2, unfocused podcasters who know they're unfocused and they want to relaunch with a clearer and more concise vision for who their ideal listener is. It's futuristic, it's interactive, we got some really cool video content for you, and it's using storytelling techniques. As you know, I've written 3 novels over the past 5 years, and so this right here was super fun for the team and I to create, and we can't wait for you, the future podcaster or current unfocused podcaster, to enroll and take the course. Check it out at speakpodcasting.com/podquest. If you could Monday quarterback that year when you made that choice to bring the molds back, how far do you think there would be no Coolin Curve? We wouldn't be talking about it had you have kept everything in Taiwan?
No, because they're still going. Again, my biggest issue with Taiwan has always been not the American-made stuff. It's what's China going to do to Taiwan. Because if my molds are over there and all my manufacturing's over there and China goes after Taiwan, well, do I get my product?
Yeah.
And so that's what that issue is. I mean, if China would step back, I'll go back to Taiwan because I love the manufacturer. I love my manufacturer here as well. But, hopefully one day we need both of them going. So, that's the hope. So
That'd be the ideal situation. And, growing up, looking at where everything was made, it always seemed that everything was made in Taiwan. So from an inventor's perspective, what is it about that country in particular, which is teeny tiny, blip on the map by some accounts? What is it about the people and the work ethic, the environment where they are? What is it that draws manufacturers, inventors, entrepreneurs to them?
It's got to be pricing. I mean, my guys that I went to, they had been using them for 25 years, if not longer than that. And so, and you look at their products from the company that, again, I went to, I mean, they did awesome work. So I went over there. They treated me, they were unbelievable. I mean, I needed prototypes. They gave me drawings. They gave me, just first-class customer service. Everything about it was just an absolutely beautiful experience. I mean, the parts were fantastic. The price was fantastic. Again, I have nothing bad to say about them. I have no issues with outsourcing products. I think we outsource a little bit too much of our products. We need to keep a lot of our products here, but we gave our manufacturing away back in the Walmart days, and we walked it over there. I was working for Mac, and he made us read a book, which, again, I've talked on the podcast a number of times, that the one thing working for Mac is you will learn, and he had great speakers come in and would talk to us. He always had us reading books, but one of the books was called Company Man, and it was about the manufacturers, how the furniture manufacturers just basically gave our manufacturing over to China. So we showed them how to do it. We gave them our equipment. We just set them up. And then all the manufacturing went to China. So.
Okay, that was going to be the follow-up so you think the furniture company sort of started the snowball It was like a snowball effect. It began with them.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Yeah. So, but again, it's just, I think it was, and again, this is just my speculation, but it was the formation of Walmart where we started going cheap. Then we needed to get cheaper products, so we had to get away from our labor. So somehow we think it's fair that if we go to another country and use cheap labor, it's not the same as cheap labor here, but I don't understand that. But anyway, it's fair somehow. And so, in our efforts to go cheap, to get quick, cheap products, we sent our manufacturing to China. And there's a lot of ripples effect on that. I mean, again, my weighted scrub brush is $200. One made in China is $10, but my weighted scrub brush is a tool. That $10 thing that's made cheap and for consumables doesn't work that well. So, again, going cheap on things isn't always the answer. Going consumable on things isn't always the answer. In the United States, it is because it's all about money. So we got to have consumables, got to have cheap. Well, why don't we work on solutions for things and then figure out how we manufacture it and what's best for the world, for the people, and for that, instead of going straight to the money. Because again, saving every dollar and every penny that you can isn't always best for the end user. So
you talk about doing what's best for the world, and on something you said on your podcast, which is Everything Why. Y'all, please listen to his podcast. Something you had said was, instead of striving to be the best country in the world, why not strive to be the best planet in the universe? Something like that.
Yeah.
So let's use this moment to elaborate on this amazing thing that you pulled out of your head.
Yeah.
You're full of them.
Well, and again, it's you watch the news. The news is tough right now to watch. I don't know what websites where you go get your news, but if you can read through all the main lines, the first 50 lines of the stories, and still have a good day, you're a pretty strong person, because you gotta be tough as nails to go through our headlines nowadays.
Yeah.
And so again, we've the movie that just always gets me is Independence Day, when that big spaceship comes over and puts shadow across that whole city, and it's happening in China and Russia and everywhere else. It was like, guys, we have a problem. They're here.
Yeah.
You know,
and they ain't bringing cake.
yeah. And they don't care where the greatest country is anymore, and so, and again, it's just that movie, because, once you, and I learned this in some of my Quiet to Mind books, and I'm not sure where I heard this, but you're only and I don't know how to say it, but you're only as uncomfortable as the situation is to you. So if you've never been starving and you don't know what it is to be starving, you don't fear being starving, right? Mm-hmm. And so, again, we're afraid of each other on this planet, because that's all we had to be afraid of. If you put something else out there, I guarantee it'd change us in a second. We'd be, all right, we need to team up. It's no longer us against y'all. It's everybody against them. Which might be stupid too, because it needs to be everybody for everybody, but we'll see how that goes.
We're just hierarchical animals at the end of the day.
I know. But again, you talk to, there's Gabriel Nahara, and he says that hierarchy is very important, and I really caught that is on our podcast we were doing with him, and his about his parents and his brothers and stuff. And again, so that's interesting, because I feel it in my family for sure, right? I mean, I'm the youngest, and so which has its benefits. You're the favorite, of course. Don't know how well that will go over. But not only are you the favorite, you're the last in line to go. So you have all these little gauges in front of you. Everything goes as planned. They kind of just drop off in order in front of you.
Oh, yeah. Now I'm the only one left.
Oh, yeah. See, that's, that's not, well, how you doing? So.
Something that I overheard you and Bo, who's going to be a guest on an upcoming episode of yours. It was after the mic was rolling, so this isn't giving anything away from the episode, but we were talking about hospice care, and something you had mentioned was the concept of clean grief, and it broke my head.
Yeah. I was at a funeral for a kid that I played basketball with when I was 7, 8, 9 years, or 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Then we went to different high schools. And then our parents became dear friends. Our moms were friends from our basketball days, and then they stayed friends. And I went to the funeral, and then I wrote him a text afterwards and said that, we met because of sports, but we stayed close friends because of our moms, right? And, and then here we are. I'm at the funeral, and the priest is down there, and he's talking about when the people that I know, they went in to talk to the priest about their mom dying, and they were there was grief, but he said that there was clean grief, and it's just because he said you could see the love in their eyes, and you could see that it was clean grief, and I totally got that. I mean, I wrote a note right there on my phone right then. I knew we were doing the podcast, and I was like, man, that's a crazy line, and I knew you would like that clean grief, because it just touched me so much. And my parents both passed in 2020. My whole life, they were saying they're going to die at 86 years old. I was going to take care of them, and that's just the way it's going to be, right? I never believed them. I just, whatever, Mom, whatever, Dad, but that's just the way that was. And sure enough, they died at 86 years old. My dad died right after turning 87, but 86 for the most part. And again, I was the one with my brother, but I was the one taking care of them for the last 5 years, I guess, near the end. And when they did die, they died in the same spot in the house, right? And so, because we put them there. And so, to me, that was clean grief. And because there was nothing else to be said. There was no anger. And, if I can give any insight to anybody who's going through hospice, which I recommend it to everybody to go through it, because it is such a clean grief that you get out of it, I would say the biggest thing is it's hard. Just understand it's hard. It's hard. I'm not going to say it's gross, because it's bodily functions and stuff like that, but there's things that you never thought you'd do, or you thought you would do, but you always were scared to death about doing it. Well, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing, especially if you know what you're doing. The biggest issue that I think is, in the challenges that you have, in the struggles, you're going to get upset because you're family members. You can't help that. You're going to be upset with each other, and you also have free reins to say whatever you want because you're family members. So, but I just say be careful what you say, because someone's going to die. The person that's not dying is going to be held with that. So you just have to be careful what you say, because it's not like when you're 40 and there's a bunch of tomorrows left. You're dancing near the day where it's going to end. And if you say something, and I said something to my mother-in-law, and that's why I know this, I was frustrated with her, and I just, kind of barked at her, and she died a week later, and it held on to me for 3 or 4 years until I finally knew that she would just have laughed anyway and just let it go. So, but yeah, so my biggest thing is just careful what you say, only because one of them is leaving.
Y'all, please check out Mike at capitalism2cause.com. It's where you can learn about Miss Emma's retreat, his Coolin Curve, his weighted scrub brush, and more. And also check out his podcast, Everything Why, on Apple and Spotify and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Mike, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.